Welcome back, friends and followers. Time for an update on our group build for the Street Machine group build, hosted by Jason over at the Blue Ox Model Shop. So I haven't had a whole lot of time the last few weeks, so I've been spending a few hours every evening. And it's hard for me to get a whole lot done because I'm trying to do little detail stuff, and when you're doing details, it starts to eat away at the time pretty quickly. But I'm moving along pretty good, I think. If I could just get a couple full days off to devote in the shop, I think I'd be a lot farther along right now. But I'll show you where we're at. Hang on, let me move the camera and we'll take a look. First things first, I've got a few shop card shout outs to make. I've had these for a few weeks now. I've just been too busy with other things going on to get around to doing this, so sorry guys, but here it is finally. The first one comes from Chris at Chris's House of Plastic. He just recently went over 500 subscribers, and he also just posted today, I think, his final for the Rock and Roll on Wheels group build, his 40 Ford Coupe Street Rod. Check that mother out. Ooh, sweet car. Good job, Chris. And then the second one is Big Al over at Battleborn Hobbies. And Big Al's been on YouTube for a while, but his modeling channel is fairly new. He is just over 100 subscribers right now, I do believe. So it'd be awesome if you guys went and checked him out. He's got some real sweet cars on here. This NASCAR build looks pretty good, and the Cobra, and then these what do you call those? The concept show cars, I guess. And okay, and I'll probably get this wrong, but I think, isn't that a Barracuda? I'm not sure about that, but yeah, go check both of these guys out. I think you'll like what they're doing. Spent most nights this week working on masking and painting things on the interior. And if you look close, I know it's subtle, but you can see that there's a difference in the blacks there on the rear seat and even on the driver's seat. Very subtle on the driver's seat, but it is there. And what we've got going on here is semi-gloss black and then flat black. Semi-gloss black on the deck, semi-gloss around the front edge of the rear bench seat, and then similarly on the driver's and passenger seat, you've got the semi-gloss in the middle on the headrests on each side, and then a flat black to either side of that center stripe, and then semi-gloss all the way around. And I gotta look at it. My reference photo shows a metallic outline, some kind of a metal bar or something on the edge of these seats, but I don't know that these seats really replicate that well enough. I mean, I think maybe right there. Now, even though this is the join line of the front and back half of these seats, it's not a gap. It's supposed to look like that, so I believe maybe I can use that as my line for that metallic bead that's in there. So, and I'll show you. I left a couple of these still masked up so I could show you how I had it masked. All right, I sprayed everything with the semi-gloss black first, and then we went back and masked off the parts we wanted to remain semi-gloss black so that we could shoot our flat black in the areas that we left exposed. And you can see why this took me several nights of getting things masked and painted. It's a little painstaking at times. All right, so this one, And this is all Tamiya tape. But then I also used my Infinity cutting mat. So I measured that center seat stripe. And I laid out a piece of the Tamiya tape. And then I cut it to the exact width of that seat stripe. So we could mask it off perfectly. Same up here on the rear bench seat. So this thing is very handy. And I'll show you before I get to my door cards. I'll show you what I did here with the dash and the center console. All right, so bare metal foil. And then these stripes are actually bare metal foil. And it doesn't look straight on there because the way the kit molds this, that's actually like a ravine. All right, so there's a gap there and then across here. So it makes this T. But on the 1-to-1, this is actually like a raised bead, a metallic bead. So I tried to replicate that by getting the metallic on that line. And it kind of goes into that valley a little bit. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look exact. But I think it's better than it would look if I had, tried to run a metallic paint in there, silver or chrome paint. I don't think it would have looked quite that good. And now thinking about it, what I could have done, maybe even should have done, was prior to painting this, just lay the bare metal foil all over that and then into that canyon, that crease, then painted it black and then just removed the paint from that area. I don't know, something to think about, maybe something to do a little different next time. But so that's the center console, and then here's the dash, and it's very similar. Let me zoom in here. So very similar technique down here on the Infinity mat. Let's back out again. So you can see here, I took some of the bare metal foil and laid it down on here. And this cutting mat, it goes from 1 millimeter of width between the lines to 0.4 millimeters of width between the lines. These lines going horizontally that way. And then these vertical lines, they're spaced. It doesn't say, well, yeah, maybe it does. Maybe it's a centimeter. 5, 10, 15, yeah, it must be a centimeter. But anyway, so I used the 0.4. And I cut very narrow strips. And we did the surround on this dash. The piece over the glove box is a little bit wider. I think I actually, instead of using just 1.4 width, I think I cut it 2 or 3 wide, so it's maybe 1.2 or 0.8. I don't recall exactly now, but that was a wider band anyway. And rather than painting it, I don't know if it really shows up that well, but the key slot for the ignition, I actually used some of that bare metal foil on that. Probably a waste of time really to do that. And then today, while I was at work, I was kind of thinking about this. So these knobs here and here, I colored those, well, and there's a switch up here in this upper left. I tried to color those with a silver Prismacolor pencil, as well as the knobs for the radio. And even, it's hard to see, but even the control levers for the heat and air. I don't like the way it looks. It's just not as chromish as I would like it to be. So what I thought I might do is get my mini drills, my PCB drills, and drill each of these out, and then use lengths of small tubing. I think I have some aluminum that's about that size, and fitting that in there, and then using a piece of styrene rod that'll fit in the center, so that you have this metallic outer casing with the black in the center. I think that'll give it a better look. And I have yet to add my clear over my instrument faces, which we're going to use the Bondic UV resin for that. But I think that's going to look really good. And I have yet to do, well, I started, but I haven't finished my door cards. And I can see here already I've got a little bit of touch-up I need to do. And hopefully you can tell in the light that, so this center area of the panel, that's flat black, as well as this grill looking area at the bottom. Everything else is semi-gloss. Yet to do my window cranks. I have actually photo etched for those. This is the pull lever to open the door here. And this is some kind of a badge or something that has a chrome look to it. And the other thing that I'm still considering is this trim here, using the bare metal foil to follow that line as well as an accent. I'm pretty sure that I'm actually going to do that. So, and you can see I didn't unmask this one yet. So I sprayed it all semi-gloss black to begin with, and then I went in and I masked to expose just the areas where I wanted the flat black, but I kind of left these armrests exposed, so I had to go back in and mask around those to put the semi-gloss black back on those. But here we go, removing that, and then so this is how I scraped away a bit of that paint, was trying to remove these bits around these door jambs. So I've got my tweezers, which are very pointed and very sharp, and if you're not careful, you can mar the paint surface underneath it. So that's what happened up there. We just got a little too happy with our tweezer tips, which is easy to do with these tweezers. I've poked myself more times than I care to count. And we might even need a little bit of touch up down there. Anyway, all right, I'll do that off camera. But you see where we're going, and it's starting to look really good. Now, as you can see, I did finish my door cards. So the window cranks are photo etch, but they're photo etch with bare metal foil over the top of them, because the nickel that they use in the photo etch didn't quite match the chrome color of the bare metal foil, so we used that over the top of it so everything would match. Our door pulls, that's bare metal foil. This part of the rear armrest, which is probably an ashtray if I had to guess, bare metal foil. And we did this trim, like I said I was contemplating doing. So that trim line is bare metal foil cut out on the Infinity cutting mat to a, what is that, 0.4 millimeter width. And it's not all one piece. It goes up to this corner as one piece, and then across is a second piece, and again here up is one piece and across is another on both sets. So, and I had to touch up the paint, and I kind of masked things a little bit, but you know, something is not the same in those jars of paint, because you can see one area stayed more glossy, so that's supposed to be the semi-gloss area, but you can see it's got a glossy sheen to it, and even here there's a spot. And then up here as well in this flat, you can kind of see where it bled through in the flat. So All right, once it's in the car, you'll probably never be able to see it. The light won't hit it directly, so it won't be nearly as obvious. I mean, it's obvious now because the light's hitting it direct, but if I stand it up, I don't think you even see that really. And you know, this car won't have opening doors, so you won't see that clearly anyway. So, but anyway, we got that done. I decided not to do the sides of the seats. I might still come back to this. I've been thinking about it. What I might use is some very small styrene rod on this seam line to create more of an accent bead and then cover that with the bare metal foil. I'm just still a little undecided yet. I gotta look at my reference photos again and see if it's gonna be worth that effort. I mean, you will be able to see that in the car, perhaps. So, I don't know. I'm still thinking on it. And then what else? I guess that's pretty much it. I'm gonna flock the floor. I thought about doing, you know, the technique like I did on my my USAC build and making the headliner with this dried out Clorox sheet. You know, I thought, you know, that might work just as well as a floor material, but I think with these molded in parts, it's going to be too difficult to get around that and make it look good. So I'm going to use my embossing powders. I've got a black embossing powder, and we'll probably use some Mod Podge with a little bit of water to thin it out a little bit more, and we'll get that flocked, and then we'll start the assembly of the interior bucket. The floor pan is now done. I think that's a reasonable facsimile of carpeting. Doesn't look bad. Of course, you know, once it's inside the car and you're not getting much light on it, you really won't see much of that at all. But it's just one of those things you do, right? And here's the rear bench seat with the package shelf, and then around the base of the seat. I don't know how accurate that is as far as the carpeting goes. It probably didn't go up the seat like that, but I did it anyway. All right, the next thing to do is start putting this interior together, but I got a detail I want to try something with, so hang on, I'll show you that. Seat belt decals. I'm just not feeling it. I don't have the photo etched seatbelt buckles, so I'm actually going to do some scratch building and try to make some out of very thin sheet styrene. We'll see how that turns out. This is as much an experiment for me as anything. So I've cut my buckles, and all right, so here's the spade piece that goes into the buckle, right? Goes into. And then these are the buckle side, and they're upside down. On the face of them, on the top side, I've got kind of a square hole. That's where your release button would be. And I'll figure out a way to paint that so that it looks, you know, like there's a button in there. And then this is just Tamiya tape that I cut 2 millimeters wide. And these are about 8 millimeters long, 10 millimeters long. And then I've glued them, so I used the sticky side of the tape to stick it on the back side of these buckles. But then I used some Mod Podge, gloss Mod Podge, and laid that over the contact point of the tape on the plastic and covered it. And then I brushed that onto the back side of the tape, so the non-sticky side. And my reason for doing that, and this is just what's going on in my head. Okay, so when the Mod Podge dries, it'll make that a little more firm, the tape, and then I'll roll them over and we'll paint the other side with the Mod Podge as well. That way I think I can flex them a little bit without them being too sticky, if that makes any sense at all. I'm not sure that it does even to me. Anyway, so that's where we're at right now. Once that Mod Podge dries, I'll roll them over, paint the other side with Mod Podge, and then we'll go to actually painting these things. Our belts are going to be black, and our buckles probably like a chrome silver and aluminum, something in that range. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I've got most everything is primed and ready for more paint. Most of the underside has been primed and painted already. I still got a few things I want to maybe play around with some more. This is the rear end. The springs are molded into it. They're not separate pieces. I'm kind of itching to maybe want to make my own springs, so I may end up cutting those off and trying to make my own that look a little more realistic, maybe. But so that's one more time eater that I need to mess with. The engine, mostly assembled. I've got everything's in primer, but then the transmission and the oil pan, actually most of the engine right now has been sprayed with this is Tester's Model Master Steel, but obviously I need to mask off and then paint my engine and my valve covers and all those other small little details that go on the engine. I'm a little undecided as to what I'm going to use for the engine color yet. And this is not a 396. This is actually our 409. So we've got a little bit of an upgrade in power for it. So I may end up doing the engine block in the same color that I use for our body. So kind of give it a custom look. We'll see. So more to come. Thanks for sticking around and watching this episode. And if you're new here, please like and subscribe. Until the next update, everybody, peace and love.